I was listening to Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrat leader in the House, really trying to shut this conversation down today. He said it's entirely inappropriate for Republicans to discuss conspiracy theories after a cancer diagnosis. And in the abstract, you sort of, that sounds right. But the problem is, like, with these conspiracy theories, we've now learned there was a conspiracy going on about covering up Joe Biden's like mental state. And therefore, how can people not start to come to some assumptions, or at least start to raise these sorts of questions, given what we're just learning about this? It's not surprising that people are going to be having these conversations, and lots of Americans will be, listening to what some of the Republicans are saying, and I'm sure nodding along and thinking that sounds right too, given what we've now learned about these people. And I do think it's something the Democrats are going to have to try and get in front of, find a way of talking about it that's going to resonate more than just saying this is inappropriate, we can't talk about this. That sounds like the same argument shutting it down that we heard the last time when right-wing outlets were raising concerns about President Biden's faculties, and were being shut down all over the place for even daring to talk about it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Pete Buttigieg. Pete Buttigieg has formerly written a book back in 2020 called Trust, before as the pandemic was taking hold, and he addressed it last week at his town hall in Iowa that there's a trust deficit across America among both parties, but that Democrats are particularly contending with it. He didn't quite connect the lack of trust to the Biden decision to run for re-election, but it's sort of right there for the taking. And I do think that Democrats have a trust gap. I think there's a trust gap really gripping the country right now, going back to COVID and the differing, approaches we saw to lockdowns, to mask mandates, and even to the cause of the pandemic. The so-called lab leak hypothesis was largely derided and not seen as something that was acceptable to talk about in polite society. But eventually, the government came around to that. So that possibility is something that likely led to the start of the pandemic. And so I think in every sector of society, this lack of trust, no less when it comes to the president's health, is going to be a force that shapes the next 5 to 10 years of American politics.